I know it had to be an exciting day for you on Monday, I guess, was your first OTA. And to see Dak come jogging back out there. And I'm sure you've been a part of the rehab, so you've seen him a little bit. But for the rest of us, after watching what happened in New York in October last year with that ankle of his, just to see him looking normal in a football uniform again and throwing the ball around, it had to be a great day for the Cowboys organization.
Without a doubt. And as you said, he's been here working out the whole time, so you've been able to watch him go through the rehab process and do the footwork and quarterback drills throughout that. So, but to see him throw behind the offensive line, I know he was excited about it. And, I don't know if he's taking a week off. He's been here every day since the injury. So we're off to a good start there.
All right, joining us now, the head coach of the iconic Dallas Cowboys, Mr. Mike McCarthy. And I was thinking about you from the standpoint of you've been around iconic franchises your whole life, right? I mean, you're like the Yankees and the Montreal Canadiens and the LA Lakers, but you grew up with the Pittsburgh Steelers, head coach of the Green Bay Packers, head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That's about as high up the ladder in our game as you can go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to say the least, very blessed, without a question. It's not something that I definitely wrote in my yearbook in high school that was part of my plan. But, yeah, definitely. Growing up in Pittsburgh during the 70s, obviously, your career in Cincinnati, those are great AFC Central battles. And, you can't grow up in Western PA without being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So, but then just fortunate to get into the NFL at a young age, with Marty Schottenheimer and the Kansas City Chiefs. What a great organization to break into and, learn the history of the NFL, Lamar Hunt and the impact that he's had on the National Football League. And, then frankly, be able to work in Green Bay as an assistant coach and, also New Orleans. I was there for 5 years and then it was, blessed to work for the 49ers also for a year. So, I've been extremely fortunate in my professional opportunities, without question.
I was trying to, I don't really know, what was your background starting out in football? Like, what position did you play? How did you get into this crazy game?
Well, I played tight end. I was a tight end at Baker University. So, and then I went to Fort Hays State University for graduate school. That's where I started my coaching career. I was an outside linebacker coach for 2 years there. And then I went back to Pittsburgh and frankly volunteered because I wanted to, try to break into the major college level. I mean, that was my ultimate goal, was to be in, major college football. And I was able to get a volunteer position in 1989 for Mike Godfrey at the University of Pittsburgh. And Paul Hackett, ironically, just came from the Dallas Cowboys. He was on Coach Landry's last staff, and he was the offensive coordinator at the University of Pittsburgh in 1989. So Paul then became the head coach, for 3 years. And so I was basically Paul's assistant for 4 years there. And that's where I learned the quarterback position, from him. So, and owe so much to him, not only just about quarterback play, but coaching and just his whole outlook and, particularly, his experience with Coach Walsh in San Francisco and Coach Landry in Dallas. So, just a lot of things that you're able to learn from him and Marty Schottenheimer. Those two really kind of paved the foundation for me in the way I view this industry and the way I view the game of football. So I was with Paul for 4 years at University of Pittsburgh, and then Paul went to Kansas City as the offensive coordinator, and then I was able to go there. Also, obviously, Marty was the head coach, and I was there 6 years, 2 years as quality control and 4 years as quarterback coach. So that's how I broke in.
So Paul Hackett was really the key. Paul Hackett also recruited me when he was at USC. And he came to Titusville, Florida, my little podunk hometown down there. And he was like, look, I know I'm probably going to lose you to the University of Florida, but have you ever been to California? I'm like, no, I've never been to California. Come on out. Had a whole day set up. And of course, this was pre-OJ time. I spent the entire day with OJ Simpson. Anthony Munoz was given $200 to recruit me. He bought me a cheeseburger, took me back to the hotel. He gave me 2 free Lakers tickets, and that was it. I go, okay, I'm not coming to L.A. because you're a crappy recruiting guy, Anthony Munoz, but I will ride that All-Pro in Cincinnati for as long as he can go. Yeah. But I love Paul Hackett. He's my guy now. I love him.
Oh, absolutely. Great coach, great mind. Yeah, so fortunate. I mean, him and Elizabeth, can't say enough about him and his family. Yeah,
you know what?
Paul made a huge impact on me.
You know who I think is maybe the most underrated coach in the history of the game, though? Might be Marty Schottenheimer. I agree. He should have been in 2 Super Bowls at least. Obviously, we know about the plays. You think about in San Diego, some of the things that happened out there, the missed opportunities. Guy just had no luck at all at the end of some of those games, or we'd be talking about him as one of the greatest coaches ever.
Well, I agree, and I think when you want to build a program, establish a foundation, especially fundamentals. There's nobody better. Just his command of the football team, clear expectations. I think everything a young coach and a young player needs at the beginning of his career in this league. Yeah, so I mean, there's not a day that doesn't go by here in Dallas that there's parts of Marty Schottenheimer in our program. Just the way we operate, the way we schedule, just the way we present, the emphasis of fundamentals over scheme. So, yeah, Marty was a tremendous football coach, and I think anybody that's ever played for him or worked for him would definitely echo that.
So we've been over your career a million times, world champion with the Green Bay Packers in Super Bowl 45, beating your hometown Pittsburgh Steelers. I never really had stopped to think about that since our conversations. Was that even remotely weird to be taking on the Steelers and winning your first championship that way?
It really was, but it was more after the fact because I was so there's so much that goes into that game, as you know. And leading up, and I didn't really want it to be about that, but it frankly really didn't really hit me till after the game. The game's over, and you go up you accept the trophy, and the next thing you know, you don't really know where you are in the stadium. They're pulling you from one press conference to the next, and ESPN, NFL Network, but when they presented the trophy and we went and did the press conference, when I come off the press conference, the stage, come down the steps, and Dan Rooney, Art Rooney, and Kevin Colbert and Omar Khan, the Steelers organization, those guys were the first to congratulate me after the game. And that's
really,
yeah, and it just says so much about them and their organization and the Rooney family, and that's when it hit me. I was like, wow. So it's the black and gold still gets you going a little bit. I mean, I think it's just part of. I still follow those guys, keep my eye on what they're doing because they're still playing the same way. Great defense but yeah, that's. I would have much rather played any other team. I'm just glad we beat them, but I think it would have been a little easier. But it didn't really hit me till after the game because you're so consumed in getting your team ready, and there's so much that goes into leading up to that game.
You didn't have any family members that were having a hard time deciding which team to cheer for, did you?
No, they kind of grew out of that. We used to have the brother-in-laws that would wear the Steelers underwear and T-shirts underneath the Packer gear and things like that. But I think we've grown out of that phase. So they're definitely Cowboy fans through and through now. So.
I was talking about the Cowboys. I have tried to describe Jerry Jones to as many people as you can. And there are a lot of BSers in the world, right? And, and Jerry a little bit's going to fall into that category. But most BSers they're trying to fool you in some way. Jerry, you know exactly who he is. exactly what he wants, exactly the reason he's buttering you up, exactly the reason that he's flying you on his helicopter around there. He wants those relationships. I always laugh at I heard one guy who was trying to sell Jerry all the furniture into the Cowboys stadium. And he said, and got to the final point there, and he goes, I want you to know how lucky I think that you are to have the opportunity to furnish the entire Cowboys stadium and have your brand on the Cowboys stadium and what that must mean to your franchise. And that was it. And I think the guy went for it. It's like, okay, that's good. But can you explain? I think your first meeting with him went like 12 hours or something, right? I mean, when you were getting interviewed for the job, give me a Jerry Jones, how people can understand this guy.
I mean, he's by far the most personable individual I've ever met, and I can't say how much I've enjoyed our relationship. But yeah, you know exactly where he's coming from. He's direct, and his people skills are off the charts. I think his love for his family and the family dynamic that exists in this organization. We have a tremendous vibe, and he's obviously. Him and his wife Gina created that here. So I can't say enough about him because not only did he meant what he said to the furniture guy too, and he believed it with every fiber in his body. But no, he is as genuine people person that I've ever been around. So I mean he's passionate and cares about everything he gets involved in, and he's involved in everything. So I can't say enough about him.
Yeah, I know it had to be an exciting day for you on Monday, I guess, was your first OTA, and to see Dak come jogging back out there. And I'm sure you've been a part of the rehab, so you've seen him a little bit. But for the rest of us, after watching what happened in New York in October last year with that ankle of his, just to see him looking normal in a football uniform again and throwing the ball around, it had to be a great day for the Cowboys organization.
Without a doubt. And as you said, he's been here working out the whole time, so you've been able to watch him go through the rehab process and do the footwork and quarterback drills throughout that. So, but to see him throw behind the offensive line, I know he was excited about it, and you need these practices. I mean, it's been a couple of years for me personally of being out there, since 2018. So it was great to be able to coach your team again and just do all the little things that you need. Just the amount of work just in the cadence. To see him under center, and we're obviously focusing mostly on the passing game. So yeah, it's great to have Dak out there, and he puts so much into it. His energy and his work ethic is off the charts. So, but we've had 2 really good days, and we need to hit these next 6 and feel good about where we are. But yeah, no doubt, it's great to see the progress that he's made, and because I don't know if he's taken a week off. He's been here every day since the injury. So we're off to a good start there.
Yeah, it takes a unique breed to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Honestly, there's just so much more expected of you than maybe any other position in football. Not just the quarterback, but quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And he has just such an easy demeanor about him. He's been through a lot. He's been through a lot with his own personal family and his mom and his brother and all the different things. But I'm sure that he's been handling this in much the same way. Give people a little understanding of what Dak is about and who he is as the quarterback of the Cowboys.
I'll say this, his consistency in how he interacts every day is off the charts. I mean, he if you could compliment him on his personality alone, I mean, he is literally the same guy every day. I mean, he's had some tough personal days here, and tough moments, and but just the way he interacts with everybody in the locker room, in the equipment room, the train. I mean, it's everybody is on the same plane with him, and he's as natural as a leader that that you'll find. And and this is his football team. We've had a lot of change. We've lost, I think, over 55 years of experience with the men that have moved on and retired and so forth. And so, this is truly his football team, and it comes very natural to him, very natural. So I can't. I've enjoyed all the meetings. It's good to be in front of our guys at the in-person meetings, but extremely consistent with his work ethic and his approach, and like you said, he handles all the extra that goes in to being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
It was a very strange year for your first year a season ago. You guys jump out offensively and you're, lighting the world on fire, right? That was it was amazing to watch those first 5 games or so until Dak gets hurt. And I think the term 40 burger was thrown around for all the 40-point games. And, that was sort of the goal of what's going on. Mike Nolan was the defensive coordinator. We can go down a bunch of injuries. We can go down a lot of different things that happened last year. But defensively, it was rough. We just weren't used to seeing that out of the Dallas Cowboys. I know you guys have, with the draft and been able to recreate a little bit of what you're hoping for this year. But take me through what you feel like is going to be different defensively this year.
Well, we definitely needed a lot of change. We knew going into the season last year the offense was ahead of the defense, and I think like every year you try to project how you think your team's going to grow and navigate as the season goes on. We definitely were at the high end of adversity. The different challenges. I know my time as a head coach was clearly the highest. So, and our guys battled through it, but, we really didn't get the defense where we would have liked to get to till near the end of the year. And that's clearly the amount of change has primarily been focused on the defense. So we feel like we need to change directions coaching wise. Then we're fortunate to be able to hire Dan Quinn and made some other staff changes. So that has gone very well. I'm excited about what Dan brings. And also I think that the personnel changes on defense. We've been talking about changing the type of players on defense since I got here. We felt like we needed to get a lot longer, bigger in the defensive front. I feel like we've hit the target in both the veteran free agents and in the defensive draft that we had this year. So we look a lot different on defense than we did this time last year. So, but I also recognize we have a ton of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. So we've changed the system, the language, and still want to be a little more aggressive with the volume of scheme. But at the end of the day, we need to get longer, and play with a lot more length, and it's definitely the body types and the men that we brought in here reflect that.
Yeah, I think every one of them have over a 34-inch reach, and right from the start. It was interesting. People don't even talk about Gerald McCoy, but here was the guy who was supposed to be one of the hammers up front for you. Never played it down. I think was hurt on the first day of the season. Leighton Vander Esch hasn't made it 50 snaps over the first couple of years of his career. And then you go out and you draft Micah Parsons. The 2 corners off the board at that point. Don't know if you guys would have taken him or not, but Micah Parsons, certainly a great player, especially when you consider Dan Quinn and the defense, that old Seattle cover 3, the whole thing. But those linebackers have to be able to get some depth and cover that deep crossing route and some of the different things that come into play. And he's a great athlete. I know that. But how do you think those linebackers will shape out now? Because, Jalen Smith was also out of position a season ago because of the injury to Leighton. How does that all impact the defense this year?
Well, the one thing in the postseason, we felt like we needed, more will linebacker types, more sub linebacker.
So more of the athletic, can run, speed.
More matchup, conscious. And and I can't say enough about, the personnel acquisition component of it, because you think, Keanu Neal was in my mind the highest rated free agent linebacker, type at that position, and then we feel like we got the two best will linebackers in the draft, with Micah and Jabril. So that in itself, I think we've really improved that position from top to bottom. So the ability to have the Mike and the Will and have some more, dynamic sub packages, and so that was definitely a focus, along with the length of the front. You can see the 6 guys we had up front, as you've already stated. So yeah, but it's more about personnel groups, matchups, and that's really what we're focused on, because one thing is always held true in my experience is you need all of them. And I always use the statistic of 77. In 2010, when I was part of that Super Bowl champion, and it was 77 players throughout the year it took to win that championship, and that's the reality of it, because we were in the same mode last year, with the amount of injuries. So you have to overcome that. That's what our game is. 17-game season now too. So you cannot have enough good football players, and I think that the fact that we're keeping the practice squad players, and to be able to operate at 68, the 53 plus 68, I think that helps everybody in this league, and I think it makes our game better.
It was interesting watching your team scoring all those points a season ago, and really you're doing it without a healthy Tyron Smith. You're doing it without Lyle Collins playing. So most teams can't basically lose their 2 tackles for the season and have that thing survive with a backup quarterback and the whole thing. But you've got to be thinking, nobody loves offense more than you do. You're sitting on a little time bomb here. If you could get your tackles healthy with the receivers that you've got playing, if Dak comes back healthy, if Zeke gets it going, this thing really does have a legitimate shot, to be able to match points with anybody. Kansas City, whoever you want to talk about, this is an offense that's sort of sitting there ready to go.
Definitely. We love the way everything looks on paper, but I think the key word you said there is match. We need to make sure our offense matches our defense. We didn't play complementary football very well last year, and frankly, the turnover rate differential was a huge part of that. Our giveaways were, we're 27th in the league or something. So. That's really we need to take care of the football and make sure we're not putting the pressure on our defense, because the defense is still new, and I think the complementary component is definitely something we need to do a much better job of. But no, I don't disagree with you. Hey, it's fun to play wide open football, but but in the same breath, the complementary football wins games, and that's the primary focus for us.
We all saw Alex Smith last year come back, a guy well. You coached him in San Francisco. You were part of that. And we're all scared to death for him, right? Because we had seen everything that he had been through physically, the 17 surgeries, whatever it was. And then in his first real game back, Aaron Donald jumped on his back. I was watching the game live. And I've seen a lot of football. I watch MMA. I've seen a lot of sort of gruesome things. When Aaron Donald jumped on that repaired leg and rode him, I can still remember the squeamish feeling that I had, right? Of just trying to, oh my God, get off of him kind of a feeling. And as a coach and Dak as a player is going to have that moment this year too, where it's going to have to stand up. He's going to have to prove it to himself. Basically, have you thought ahead about how you're going to approach preseason, the beginning of the season, and getting him over that hump?
Definitely. We actually had another conversation about it this morning. I'm sitting there talking with Dan and Kellen about training camp and our focus of, make sure, particularly try to practice against another team, and we're still working on that. But it's important not only for our football team, but it's important for Dak to get out there and compete against, another team in practice before he plays a preseason game. So just trying to, have a process for him to get back in there, and frankly, also for our two tackles too. So, that's all part of the training camp plan. So, he probably not going to play much early, but we're definitely going to build up to that. And it's not that he needs it, because if he was sitting here, he would tell you he's ready to go today. But it is, I think it's just smart to come back on a plane like that, not just to throw him right back in there.
As you step back from now, you're into your second year, and obviously things you get a chance to settle in and know your environment. You don't have the craziness of COVID as much to deal with at this point. But I thought it was interesting that your football team showed up. A lot of teams are opting out of the voluntary part of the OTAs, and it's their right. The Players Association have kind of pushed that. Your guys showed up for the most part if they were healthy for this practice. What do you think that says about your team, and how do you look at it as almost a must for you guys as you were getting ready for the beginning of this season?
Well, I mean, first, from my perspective, this is all I know. I mean, the last team I coached, we were the youngest team in the league every year by design. So we couldn't survive without the OTAs, in my view. So it's the opportunity to bridge the gap between the young players and the veterans, and I've always taken that approach. Now, we're frankly in a lot of ways in year one of our program, so we definitely need this. But I think the big picture is it just shows you the players' commitment. Our players really, they have been here almost every day since the season's complete. I think some guys took a few weeks off, but the majority, very high majority of our players live right here in Dallas. So this is where they work out year round. I mean, this facility is designed for that. I mean, it's a tremendous facility. It has everything you'd ever want or need for off-season training. That's frankly part of the design and the commitment from, I think, every organization. I know it's been the last two I've worked at. I think it just shows our guys' commitment, and they know we're young. There's still a lot of newness to where we are in our football program. So, I can't say enough. I mean, I thanked them again this morning in the team meeting, but the commitment here is real. I think we had maybe two guys miss the last couple of days. So, but it's been pretty consistent all the way through the off-season program. We've had great numbers.
Well, the good thing is you get a nice, easy game for the opener this year. It'll be just a walkover to take on the world champions during their celebration in Tampa. First time with their fans back in the stadium. And we get to see it on Sunday night / Thursday night football for that one. Is that a good thing that you open up with the world champs so everybody knows, hey, coming right out of the chute, when we're at practice, when we're at training camp, we're getting ready for Tom Brady and the world champs, and every day has to be something great if we're going to take those guys on?
It's definitely part of the reminders every day. How many days left here in the off-season program? I think we're at 16, and all the way through to training camp and to that first game. But is it a good thing to play in that game? Absolutely, it is. I think it's always a good thing when you get to play in a big-time game, especially early in the season. So I think early season football is a bigger challenge today than it's ever been. I think the lack of off-season and restrictions in training camp have made September football it's a little different, and I've approached it that way for probably the last 10 years. So to play in that environment early, and if you just look at the way our schedule lines up, we don't play a game till week 6 where we're on a 7-day schedule, and that's something that I've always looked for when the schedules come out, is how many runs of 7 days in a row do you have, because regularity, the discipline, and how you train your football team to get the consistency you look for. I think that's part of it. So it's good to get that type of game right out of the gate, because we're going to be playing a bunch of national games and in our travel and so forth. So we're going to have a little more stress and in our scheduling this year than I've had in the past. So I think it's good to get out there right away and get into that, try to get into a rhythm of not being in a normal 7-day structure till week 6.
The one thing that came out of the draft this year was that it was anticipated that you guys really were hoping for a cornerback early on. You got young players at that position, but you're going to find out right away, right, with Tom Brady and that receiving core that they have down there. How do you feel about the back end of this defense? And is there still a possibility of my guy Richard Sherman, who does this podcast with me, he's some guys like that are still out there. Are you still in the market a little bit?
Well, I mean, the one thing we talk about all the time, we're always looking. We're always looking to upgrade and to add. There's no question there. But also, the salary cap, what's in front of us too is something that we're
tight.
very focused on too. And I think that's why you saw the 11th draft picks was by design, and to be able to select, we had 10 going in, but to be able to have 11 selections this year was very important, just in the big picture and the long-term planning of, for our roster development. So we're always looking, but I definitely love the competition that we have in the back end, so it'll be fun to see how this all sorts out.
My man, I appreciate you as always. I know you've got to run off and do a little actual real work, but congrats on putting together what looks like. I think your team's going to be exciting. I really do. And I know what Dan Quinn can do on the defensive side. I think it'll be a little simpler. It'll be a little bit back to the future of what they had before you got there on it from the defensive side with that Seattle and cover 3 and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that yours is going to be one of the most exciting teams to watch, and we cannot wait for opening night between the Cowboys and the Bucks, and we'll kick it off together.
Well, for as crazy as last year was, there was definitely some exciting games. So I definitely feel strongly we will not disappoint in that area. But no, it's just the way the schedule lines up. It's gonna be a grind early, and I think that's always a good thing for your team because you get to find out where you are right away. And but we have a chance. We just have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. I like the way the team looks. They definitely they're putting in the extra time and the commitment. So we're looking for an exciting year. And I can't thank you enough too, Chris, for particularly the year off, with you and PFF. And so we're loving the ultimate. It's our coaches are into it, and we're definitely growing with PFF too as we prepare for the season.
You're a nice guy. You were good enough to come up to our offices and spend a day, and our guys still talk about the day that you showed up here. So it's that was great fun. But best of luck to you. It's always a pleasure, and go Cowboys.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Give Neil and the guys my best.
Will do.
Thanks for coming on.
Special thanks to Mike McCarthy for always being so accessible and open and honest. Just a great guy. Hope you had a wonderful, wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I know for so many of you that is a really tough weekend, having lost family members as we honor all the incredible people that have ever served in our military. And you think of what this country is and what it never would have been but for the heroics of so many, and it's impacted so many families. That just a special moment of thanks to all of those who have served and to the families of all of those who have served. We'll see you next week right here on the Chris Collinsworth Podcast.